Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the new artifact sets that were shown in the 3.6 live stream. I'll be going over if they are good sets and if they are worth farming for. So let's get started with one of the sets called Farokasha's Glow. I am sorry if I mispronounced that. The 2-piece of the set is 20% HP, and the 4-piece, elemental skill and elemental burst damage will be increased by 10% after the equipping character takes damage. The aforementioned damage bonus is increased by 80% for 5 seconds. This effect increase can have 5 stacks. The duration of each stack is counted independently. These effects can be triggered even when the equipping character is not on the field. Now, right off the bat, what a lot of people speculate from the set is that this is more geared and designed for Deja, because the way that Deja works is that whenever she takes damage, she loses health basically every few seconds, which goes in lines of how the 4-piece of the set works. Now the only thing about it is that, is this really a good set to put on Deja? Knowing how Deja is designed as a character and how much value her kit has, Deja was a disappointing character when she first released in 3.5, mainly because the way they marketed her to be like a damage dealer, but also having defensive capabilities like resistance to interruption, but mainly continuous damage from her burst and some from off-field from her elemental skill. It was really confusing where she stands, but mainly the value scalings that Hoyoverse gave her that made her not really good at all to build and really useful in any team comp that uses pyro. So with this set being made, the question is, does this set make Deha good? On paper it does sound good, but in reality this set barely does anything at all, and I will show you why. Online, there's a couple calculators that you can use to help you evaluate your character's substats and how much value that it does for your character. So the calculator that I'm using in this reference is called Genshin Impact Damage Calculator. So if you're interested in using the calculator for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description. But basically in this example, I'm using the artifacts that I've used on Deha from my experience of testing her and making her basically as strong as I can in comparison to the set. If I were to take the same stats that I have the artifacts currently on the new set, how much of an increase does the new set bring for my Deha if I were to farm this new set for her? So let's see, in this comparison, the highest damage that I can currently have on Deha is with a 2-piece Noblesse set and a 2-piece Pyro set. I know Emblem's better in terms of damage value and energy requirements for Deha, but in this example I'm just referencing of how much damage increase that I can get of the highest damage I can deal with Deha. So in this example I'm using Bennett, Kazuha, and Mona on my team with a bunch of other buffs with 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece Pyro. And on the right you can see the kind of numbers that my Deha can do with the exact stats and buffs that I currently have applied. So when looking at my elemental burst on the right side, considering that her burst is the main source of her damage, when looking at crits I'm looking at hitting around 29,000 damage, with the dive dealing around 41,000 damage. Now when looking at the numbers that the calculator gives me, it isn't the exact number, but they are numbers that are very close to what you can expect, when keeping in mind the kind of buffs that you will want to apply in the scenario from the subcategories you see. 29,000 damage is basically the highest damage I can expect my Deha to do, and also if you're curious, the damage I can get from my elemental skill is 26,000 damage with also 30k on Raging Flame, with the field damage doing around 16.4k damage. So those numbers are around the highest numbers I can expect my Deha to do. So what does the new set do for her? So when talking about the new artifact set, if I were to take the previous artifact stats and then apply it to the new 4-piece set, the numbers that I get is basically a joke. When looking at elemental burst, Flaming Fist goes from 29,000 to 31,000, which is only a 2,000 damage increase, which is just plain disappointing and a joke. If you want to look at other things, her dive kit goes from 41k to 43k, close to 44k, but still like around 2,000 damage. Her elemental skill goes from 26k, 30k, and 16k to 29k, 35k, and 18k. Honestly, when just looking at the numbers again, it just When I first found out these numbers, I kind of was disappointed right out of the gate, because mainly considering the amount of punches she does in her elemental burst, and it is a 2000 damage increase per hit, she can get around, I guess, close to 20,000 damage increase from her elemental burst in total. But that doesn't justify in wanting to farm this new set completely for Dehya. I honestly think this set is a joke and they didn't really care about it or put any thought about making the set good, especially for a character that was never really good in the beginning when she first released back in 3.5. I'm just disappointed. Maybe they made this set for a completely different character, but since there's no other character right now besides Dehya that can basically utilize the set, this really isn't a good set to farm for, and really not a set ever considering unless a new character comes out that can really utilize the 4-piece set. So honestly, if you were thinking about farming for the set, I honestly do not recommend it at all. But what about the second set that comes with the new artifact sets? The second set, called Nim's Dream. The 2-piece of the set is a hydro damage bonus of 15%, and the 4-piece, after normal, charge, and plunging attacks, elemental skills, and elemental burst hits opponents, 1 stack of Mirror Nymph will be triggered, lasting 8 seconds. When under the effect of 1, 2, or 3 or more of these stacks, attack will be increased by 7 to 16 to 25%, and hydro damage bonus will be increased by 4 to 9 to 15%. The stacks created by these form of attacks exist independently. So pretty much immediately when looking at this set, people are assuming that this is a set for Tartaglia, which is basically correct. This set does sound pretty good. It gives you attack percentage and hydro damage bonus from basically all the different forms of attacks you can do. It is pretty exciting that they are giving us more elemental sets, because it does feel kind of boring to only farm one specific elemental set for an elemental type. And when looking at this for the first time, knowing that when I first started playing the game, I was basically a Tartag main because he was the first character that I really enjoyed playing. So when looking at this set, I would think I would be pretty excited in farming for this set, but when applying this set in the Genshin damage calculator that I used in the previous set, I wasn't really that much convinced. In this reference, my Tartaglia is at 6 with the team of Bennett, Kazuha, and Zhongli, because I like running a hypercarry Tartag when trying to utilize Vaporize from mainly his elemental burst and sometimes his elemental skill. The main set that I run on Tartag is 4-piece Heart of Death, because I like running him as an on-field carry. So I like to min-max the damage on his normal charge attacks from his elemental skill and sometimes from his elemental burst. I know some people don't like running 4-piece Heart of Death compared to like 2-piece Heart of Death and like 2-piece Noblesse, because a lot of people would prefer to min-max the damage on his elemental burst. So for my main set, 4-piece Heart of Death, these are my numbers that I get from my elemental skill, and these are the numbers I get from my elemental burst non-vaporize, and the numbers that I get with the 2-piece Noblesse set, which is why in this reference I also included a version that has 2-piece Hydro and 2-piece Noblesse for a better comparison. And here are the numbers for 2-piece Hydro and 2-piece Noblesse with the exact same stats as the previous one. So the main differences between these two sets is that Heart of Death mainly increases the damage of his elemental skill, and 2-piece Noblesse mainly focuses on his elemental burst damage. However, I know people will point out that they mainly go for 2-piece Noblesse on Tartag to increase his vaporized damage on his elemental burst. So for that, I also included a reference that would show his damage if his elemental burst utilizes vaporize, which is this one. So when enabling vaporize, my Tartag's burst can hit up to around 453,000 damage. And when comparing that to 4-piece Heart of Death, considering that it doesn't really do anything for your burst, it's only around 419,000 damage, which is pretty significant on why some people decide to go for 2-piece Noblesse instead of 4-piece Heart of Death. So when looking at these two artifact set references, how does the new set compare? It's kind of not surprising, honestly, because it really isn't that much difference compared to either of the previous two examples. Here are the numbers of the new set. Here are the numbers for his elemental skill and elemental burst non-vaporize, and here are his burst numbers when utilizing vaporize compared to the other two sets. As you can see from the previous sets compared to the new set, it's really not that much different. It's just all the new set really does is increase the damage of one area that one of the previous two sets don't really increase. For example, this set increases his elemental burst damage compared to Heart of Death, and this set increases his elemental skill damage compared to using 2-piece Hydro set and 2-piece Noblesse set. When looking at the new set compared to HOD in comparison of his elemental skill numbers, it's really not that much difference or barely a difference at all. The only real difference for the new set is that it sometimes increases the damage by like 100 to sometimes 300 damage, which is barely anything. And when looking at the elemental burst damage mainly from the 2-piece sets, it's also barely a difference at all, non-vaporize and vaporize. So really, what is this set really good at? Well, the set is mainly good as being an all-rounder set for Tartaglia in increasing the damage from his elemental skill and his elemental burst compared to the previous two sets where it mainly focuses in one area compared to the other. But is this set really worth farming for? Now, coming from me, since I enjoyed playing Tartag for a very long time, when looking at this set, this is basically designed for Tartag's kit and how it works, similar to how his best in slot weapon works, the Polar Star. In the end, it is an increase, but the increase that you do get from it, I don't really think is worth it, especially if you do really like playing Tartag. Yes, it is an increase, but the increase is so minor that is it really worth farming this artifact domain, considering that the second set isn't really that good for the character that it was designed for? It makes it feel that these artifacts are a joke to farm for. They're not really good in basically anything. I can understand why some people will want to farm this set for Tartaglia, but again, considering that you have to farm an entirely new 4-piece set, I don't think it's really worth it, especially resource wise, because farming artifacts in this game is not easy, especially for a new set. I just think this artifact domain is not worth farming at all. I think you should save your resin in farming another artifact domain. And also, if you are interested in farming these sets for any future characters that could potentially use them, if you recall, the Echoes and Vermilion domain still hasn't really been used for any future characters that came out, so I don't think it's really worth farming these artifacts for future characters that could potentially use them. I understand that Fontaine is very close to coming out, but I don't think that justifies in farming this set because it's Hydro damage bonus. It could potentially be used by a Hydro character, but as of right now, it's not really worth farming unless there's a character worth farming for it. And that is the end of this artifact review video of the new artifact sets coming in 3.6. In the end, I don't think these artifacts are worth farming. I think they're basically a joke for what they were designed for. So my advice is to keep your resin in terms of farming other resources or another artifact domain. And yeah, I just think these artifacts are just a disappointment. I was kind of looking forward for new sets, but these new artifact sets are not really it. And that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a like, subscribe for more content in the future. Check me out on Twitch, the link will be in the description below. That's it for today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.